Okay, welcome back to True Crime Broads. We're so excited to have Philip Klein back with us today. He's with Klein Investigations, and he is here to talk to us about the Michael Chambers case again. If you haven't listened to the episode we did with him before, please go back and listen to that and then check this one out.
Absolutely. We are so glad you're here with us. Philip, we appreciate it. The last recording interview we did with you, and then this one, of course. So what can you do to update us on the Michael Chambers case?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back. I do appreciate y'all's interest in it, and I appreciate y'all making contact with me. The Chambers case, I think right after we did the last interview, it wasn't long after that, there was a discovery of a body, and I want to describe it for your listeners and the folks watching this. If you go across the 7 Mile Bridge by Lake, and I can never say it, Takawanki.
Tawakoni, I only know because I grew up going there.
And you go, yeah, we did that last time. And then you go about 3 miles, and then there's a farm to market road, and you take a right on that farm to market road as you're heading kind of northwest. It was in the original search zone. However, the body was not found during those searches. And you go about 7 miles down that short farm to market road, and it turns into kind of a slough area for the lake. And then there's a rise, kind of like a little, I want to say an island that can be accessed off the road. And a body was found in that area by a guy that says he is a naturalist, and he just likes to walk through the woods. And he was walking through the woods, and he found 2 things that are of importance. He found, number one, the body, the parts of the body. Of course, as you guys know, whenever you get into things like this, that when a body dies, it decomposes pretty quickly when it's out in the sun or it's in water. And the body went into, my guess is, an immediate state of decomposition. They found a skeleton, and they found a bicycle that had been, by one side, denied that a bicycle was missing, but on another side, somebody said, well, the bike was missing. The one reason that folks in law enforcement and guys like us were skeptic of it is that there was a very large denial at the original time of us becoming involved, that he got on a bicycle and he rode that bicycle from his home to the 7 Mile Bridge. Remember, the last point we had of a cell phone ping was at the 7 Mile Bridge.
Right.
If you do as a crow flies, and let's do it first to the 7 Mile Bridge, that's between 21 and 24 miles, depending upon what road you go down. We had interviewed pretty much everybody in the area, and we've made an all call, and so did the police, of anybody that may have seen a guy riding a bicycle. Now, you may ask yourself, why? There's a bunch of bicycles. Well, no, there's not. It's a 2-lane road, a big time 2-lane road between the area of the homestead and all the way to the bridge. So somebody would have seen it. Now, are there sidewalks between where the restaurants all start and Walmart, and that creases you over to the road the bridge is on? Yes. But there are no sidewalks anywhere between the home and the 7 Mile Bridge. Now, you take the 7 Mile Bridge back to where the body was found, which is another roughly 7.85 miles, you find that there are no sidewalks. Now, why is that important? Well, if you're riding a bike, right, and you're riding in that kind of traffic, which that kind of traffic would be very, very, very heavy at that date and time, right? After work, kind of, summertime weather, people
Right.
out and about, people on the lake. The bridge was under construction where there were no sidewalks for any bicycles to go to. You put that all together, somebody would have seen something, okay? That's why you saw when we first took over this case is that we were making a plea to the public. Hey, public, come on, we need you. So we never got a tip, not one tip from one person that Michael Chambers was seen riding a bike. Now, the other part of it is the bike that he was riding was a 1960s bike, which its sister bike, the companion bike, was literally broke and rusted, and it was horrific. So we just all kind of went, there's something more to this. And
Right.
so the bike was found. I think that's been broadcast in the media. It is a positive that it was that bike. However, the body and the DNA and the clothing, some of which we can semi-verify, such as a pair of jeans, that sort of thing. We do not have the official ruling from the coroner, and we do not have the official ruling from the autopsy and the DNA from the autopsy. So with that said, you can kind of see where we are. That is not really my job to announce it to the public. That's Hunt County and the fine detectives, the men and women of the detective division up there that have put in so many hours, and the sheriff himself who has put in so many hours. And you can't say enough nice things about that. I mean, they're a good law enforcement agency to work with.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we sat in a room with them a year ago and we were going over everything again, everybody was kind of shaking their heads, taking it serious, going through each of the pieces of evidence and saying, it paints a very good picture. I mean, from the blood on the ground to the missing tarp, there's a lot of things that we were all looking at, that we all agreed upon, that look nefarious. It still looks nefarious to us.
Did law enforcement pull cameras? You were saying there's no eyewitnesses that caught him on his bike?
No.
No camera footage of him?
Nope, nobody pulled cameras.
Oh, okay.
At the Walmart store, when he was in the Walmart store buying the mascara for his wife that he bought for the first time. And that was the last time anybody saw him.
Okay.
We do know from cell phone pings that he was at the residence roughly at about 3:30. This is when it all began, at 3:30 on that afternoon.
Okay.
So with that said, if I was going to put a percentage on it without DNA, I would say we're 60% there, that it's him. Now, there was other evidence that I cannot talk about, that I've been asked not to talk about. I've been asked not to make a public statement on the results of our investigation, because as soon as they announce what they think it is or what the public thinks it is, if it is him, then they will make a formal announcement, and then directly after that, we'll make our formal announcement of the results of our investigation. But you can kind of see the angle that we're looking at. Do we, if it is him, and I'm not saying it is him, but if it is him, we're going to lean on the side of homicide, because the evidence doesn't match up.
Right.
Doesn't add up. Homicides come in many ways, right? Act of anger, act of misfaith, act of besides anger, but I mean, every homicide is angry, but act of a setup, which is a preconceived homicide, pre-planned capital offense in Texas. What do we think it is? We'll announce that at the time, but the evidence I have right now that I've gone through over the so many years is that this is not, I want to repeat, not an accident in our opinion, but we're going to reserve that final opinion that we're going to come out and tell the public, our final opinion of what we think it is, the team of people that have hundreds of hours of experience, the recreation by our recreation team, the interviews that we did, et cetera. When we get to that point, what we will do is we'll lay it out for everybody. Hey, here it is. This is what we did. We'll probably do it on a live broadcast somewhere. And we'll do probably a press conference with the media. But we want to keep the family in our minds. We want to keep the public in our minds, right? And we don't want to spread any disinformation. There's enough of that on Facebook.
Right.
Very true.
So it sounds like you're also saying you don't see any evidence that this was a suicide.
I have no evidence that shows me any suicide was committed. None, zero, donut hole.
Okay.
Was the body found close to the bicycle, or can you?
Yes.
Okay.
Within 5 yards.
Okay. Enough that you saw them
Yes.
both at the same time, right?
Well, within, yes,
Okay.
yes, within 5 yards.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know, the layout of the scene we want to give to the public. Some of it was released on Facebook, which was absolutely abhorrent. That someone, the gentleman who found the body, and again, he's a novice. He doesn't know anything, so I really don't want to beat him up. But you don't go around and take pictures of skulls and evidence and then put it up on Facebook saying, look what I found. You don't do that. You don't do that. You give it to the cops and the cops will instruct you. Because this could be a homicide investigation. And then those pictures got out before the police got there, which makes it fruit of the poisonous tree. And for those of you not in the legal business, the fruit of the poisonous tree is that you cannot release to the public or outside of an investigation, homicide or other evidence, because then you can't use it for the jury because the jury may have been impugned by it. So that's called the fruit of the poisonous tree. And it's a very crude way to explain the law, but we were very distressed when we saw that. When we saw that, I think the whole office just erupted into who the hell is doing that? Who's that guy? And then one of the news media organizations, who again, they're novices in the news media, they're internet news people. They put it up there, and then immediately we were all on the phones, the cops, the DA, we were on the phone, everybody was on the phone saying, take it down now. And,
Right.
And so, you know, anybody who rebroadcasts it now will probably end up facing charges.
I think we actually saw that.
Yeah,
I know I did.
They did. Yeah,
Mhm.
we saw that.
it's abhorrent.
Yeah.
You know, and that guy, again, I don't want to beat him up, but common sense, friends,
Right.
common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you find a body, don't start taking pictures of it and put it up on the internet and say, cool, look at this body.
Yeah, that's definitely not entertainment for sure.
No, it's not entertainment. And you know what? That's somebody's dad,
Mhm.
somebody's friend. That's a decorated firefighter out of Dallas's, what? How many are there out there? 2,000 firefighters? That's their brother. Why would
Right.
you do that? Why
Yeah.
would anybody do that? And again, after visiting with everybody involved, including the DA, the FBI, everybody involved, it was a novice move. It was immediately taken down. An apology was written. We all move on now.
Yeah.
So if it is a homicide, you know, there's some there's some hurdles we're all going to have to go over. Yeah, I apologize if I sound like I'm tired. Just look at my eyes. I'm all brown in my eyes. So I'm at
We-
work. So
We totally understand.
You look fine.
Yeah, you do.
But
I look
yeah,
like I've
no,
been wearing sunglasses for a week. Which
You're fine. Do you think that the body was placed at that location after the search that you said was the area where his body or the remains were found was included in the original search area? Do you think it was placed there after that search?
I'm going to hold off on giving an opinion on that.
Okay.
The question is if I'm leaning towards that, the answer is yes. But do I have my final conclusion on that? No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not going to release my final conclusion until I get my final conclusion, you know?
Right. That makes sense.
Final conclusion. Hello?
We're here.
Okay.
Do you think that finding these remains are going to help solve the case?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
That's good to hear. You never
Remember,
know. It varies sometimes.
if you murder somebody, or if there's well, let's take suicide first. If there's a suicide first, okay, the guy committing the suicide is going to leave evidence out there, okay? If you have a homicide, there is no perfect homicide. Some people may think we've got a case right now up in Canadian Texas where, you know, if it is not a homicide, nobody can, there's no methods of death. If there is a homicide, there is no perfect sign or function in a homicide. So we'll be able to figure that out eventually. We're in the process of, got some good evidence this last week, so we're in the process of figuring that out. But my bottom line is, do I have any evidence of a suicide? No. Do I have evidence of a homicide? We do have some evidence that we believe is strong evidence to a homicide. But again, we have to, you know, they process the crime scene or the suicide scene, whatever you want to call it, process the scene, looked it over 4 or 5 times. They ran metal detectors. They ran, I mean, they did the whole, they did a good job. I can't say enough. They did a good job. Of course, the Texas Rangers came down and they helped out. There was 2 or 3 Rangers there, some FBI guys. So do I believe that it was done properly? Yes, I think it was done properly. We'll see how it comes out and go with it that way.
One last question from me. Do you think there is any possible chance that Michael Chambers rode his bike, had some type of a heart attack, some natural cause death, and fell off his bike?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to take that, okay, so let's take that theory. Chambers, we know, was in his garage. We know that there were 2 puddles of blood. Okay. We know that a tarp was missing.
Mm-hmm.
We know that a bike was missing. We know that there were some short pieces of rope missing. Okay. So we know all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is what we know. That's called hard evidence. We have that hard evidence. But what we don't have is a witness between the house and where his body was found that said, yeah, I saw a guy riding a bike.
Right.
It's important. Out of the 20, let's see, it was 27 plus 7. We're looking at almost 40 miles. 40 miles? Almost 40 miles? And a guy on a bike with no bike pass where he's going to have to ride on a street that sees probably about 10,000 cars a day?
Yeah. That's a long way.
That's long. That's way long.
Not to mention, I'm impressed about the 40-mile trip. I don't even think I could do 4 miles. Let alone 40.
With that, and he's a firefighter.
Right.
His knees were bad. Had part of a bad shoulder. I don't see a 70-something-year-old man doing that. I mean, I just.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally agree.
Why wouldn't he just take his truck down there and then go to the water, you know?
There you
Well,
go.
And it sounds like it was out of character for him to do super long trips like that on his bike anyway.
Well, the bike hadn't been moved in 2 years, according to the witnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you going to ride a bike with no chain oil on it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've been
That far?
beat, where you've been beat to the point where you're bleeding in 2 different puddles of blood. I mean, come on, and
Yeah.
folks, those weren't just puddles. Now, some of the Rangers have kind of theorized that maybe he set it up that way to put blood in a tube and spread the tube out in the garage and pour the, what?
Yeah, that is pretty
What?
crazy.
Now, full moons, crazy things happen, but this is one of those crazy things.
Okay, now I have a question. If you are leaving the Chambers residence and you're heading towards Walmart, is it the opposite direction where he was supposedly traveling on the bicycle, or is it the same direction?
I'd probably say it's like a U or maybe a fancy Z. You
Okay,
go down, then you take a left, and you
okay.
go through a bunch of traffic and traffic lights. Then there's a sidewalk by some restaurants. Then you get past that and you go to another farm to market road, take a left. Then you go down another, 7, 8 miles. You get to the bridge. The bridge was closed down except for 2 short lanes. You got to walk your bike through there. I don't see him riding a bike through there. I don't see any professional riding their bikes, through there. Then you get over the bridge, and then you go down another 5 miles. Then you go down another 3 miles to your,
Oh,
you know, it's not happening.
yeah. Okay, so this is my thinking, is that he left the house and went all that direction or all that way in his truck to Walmart, went into the store, got the mascara and whatever else, went back home, and then got on his bike and then did this long ride to go kill himself. That's strange.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
It makes 0 sense.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't.
just a flat out setup.
He's just really gonna
There
be
was-
concerned.
And then there's a piece of evidence that I'm not going to talk about other than to say that was found at the scene that was missing from the original scene, right, where the blood was.
Mhm.
Found it.
Wow.
It was there. And so you wonder, okay, why did we take that and put it on our person and go out some 40
Yeah.
miles? What?
Yeah.
It's just, it's one of those things where you know, look, a lot of people have theorized he was a firefighter for 25, 30 years, right? They theorized that he just made the decision that, you know, he was going to stage his suicide. Oh, come on. Come on. I mean, you know what? I mean, we've already talked about his wife having affairs. He already knew his wife was having affairs. He was financially sound. It's just, you know, and then the wife runs out, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after he goes missing and declares him dead and talks some justice of the peace into declaring him dead, which ends up making even more of a mess in his estate. You know, again, what? I mean, that's all we've done in this case is look at each other and go, what?
Right.
Yeah, that's
I can
crazy.
imagine.
And I have a
Yeah.
question about what you were talking about on the getting him considered dead so soon, even though I think I don't know if it's considered a law or what, but it's like 7 years, right?
Yep, sure.
Okay.
It's 7 years.
I don't even understand how that happened, but nevertheless, it was done. So now, is there a way that when they do the testing that they do to find out more or so of when he died, and do they change that, or how does?
You know what? That's a great question. And that's up to the homicide investigators to meet with the county attorney and the coroner and everybody that's involved. That's a discussion that's going to be had at a table, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the pension board over in Dallas, they're going to have a say in this at Dallas Fire. City of Dallas, they're going to have a say in this. Everyone's going to have a say in this. You know, the family, because the family's split. The family's totally split. We got one side of the family says, see, dad killed himself. And the other side of the family going, what are you talking about? What world are you in?
Wow,
Right.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Things have got to calm down a little bit. Let's get the evidence. And, you know, you know, remember every case, and you guys do this so wonderfully with with your podcasts.
Thank you.
Yes, you do this so wonderfully. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay. Well, we know who, we know what, we know when, we do not know why, and we're trying to figure that out. We do not know how, and we're trying to figure that out right now.
Right.
And so, and then the why. Well, we think we've got the why down. He's got a wife that plays around on him all the time, not with just one man, but multiple men. So, and that's a concern. Why would one of the men lie to us, the investigators, when we get him cornered and we talk to him and he flat out lies, and I'm standing there, and someday we'll release that recording where I go, well, why would you, the main crux with me and my questioning, I'm not speaking for MJ Holmes or any of the other team who questioned him, but when I questioned him, I asked him specifically the question, when was the last time you talked to her? And he said, oh, it's been, and I believe it was 2 years, maybe a year or 2 years. So you talked to him a year or 2 years ago? Yes. Or her? Yes, a year or 2 years ago. Well, that's interesting. How come your phone number comes up and then your phone turns off at 3:15 in the afternoon and it turns back on at 6, whatever?
Mhm.
Wow.
That's
Why did you
always
call-
suspicious.
Why did you call her right before 3:30? And then why did you call her early in the morning at 5:30? Why did you do that? And he just stood there and stared at it. So there it is. That's from the phone company.
Right.
Help me with this. Help me here. I'm sure there's an explanation. Just give me an explanation.
You forgot. You
No,
forgot.
that's when I let Holmes go loose on him and then, did her nice routine and, talked to him, got information out of him. But, I got zero tolerance for liars.
I agree.
And I knew he was lying. He was looking down. He was looking to the right, looking to the left. I remember the interview like it was yesterday. And then his wife came out and slammed the door in our faces while he was standing with us. So, I mean, there's a lot of emotion to it. There's a lot of background to it. There's a lot of everything to it. But again, I'm not willing to give my final opinion yet. There could be something that was missed that hasn't been shared with me, that when law enforcement gives us their book and says, this is what we believe happened, then that's what happened. I mean, you got to go with the law enforcement guys. The only disappointment I've ever had with law enforcement up there is when they got that JP and that constable to sign off on the property 2 weeks after he was dead.
See, those are kind of things that disgust me, and I don't understand how that happens and how is it legal?
It's cover up. It's cover up. It's cover up.
All the way to the JP that signed off on his death
there's
certificate.
Look,
Wow.
I hate to be like this, but she rode more horses than Seattle Slew.
That makes sense.
And she was involved with a lot of people, and they knew the national media was coming in, right? And with the national media coming in, if we can put up a smoke screen, right? There's probably a suicide or whatever they want to put it. There you go.
Isn't there somebody though above them that can that a law was broken or something? I just don't understand how you can just go, oh, we'll just sign off on this one, but that's not the way the law reads. So how did you go above the law?
Probably requesting it go to probate or to a district court, letting the district court open a probate file. And then if you're that inbred up there, which I don't think they are, but if you're that inbred up there, then you take it to I think they're in the 4th Court of Appeals, if my memory is correct. Take it up to the 4th Court of Appeals and ask them to issue a stay. And then everything would have been stayed until until the body was found.
Right.
No, he's dead. Now I can go to probate. But it took away so many important skills for not only the homicide investigators, but for us on the PSB side, because, if you have a probate in place, we could have gotten one of the lawyers to give us permission to issue subpoenas through them, and we could have gotten a treasure trove of information, but they didn't. And so whoever came up with that smokescreen idea did a damn good job. There you go. So one,
So-
if one of the people, see, you get somebody like me that's been around 30, 40 years. I know the system. I smell a rat when I smell a rat. And I smelled it the minute I came involved in this case. I knew once I came in this case, there was just too much smoke. And the first question I have is, I hang around with a lot of firefighters, right? I hang around with a lot of firefighters. I was a firefighter medic for 27 years for my city, okay? I know a rat when I smell it. When I heard that they said that this man had a possibility of committing suicide, I thought to myself, now, wait a minute. What do I know about suicide first? Which is, if somebody's going to commit suicide, they're going to do it in front of somebody, or they're going to do it in a place where their body can be found. They're not going to get on a bicycle and ride, now we know, 37 to 40 miles and go hide on top of a little island and put the little bicycle down and go sit next to the bicycle and die.
And put the family through all that torture.
Especially a firefighter who loved his daughter,
Right.
loved his son, and loved all these people. There's no rhyme or reason for any of this.
I didn't know him, and I can tell that.
Yeah, he's a hero.
Yeah.
He gave his body, his back, his shoulder, his knees, his skin got burned a couple of times. I mean, he sacrificed himself for that. All over a woman that's screwing around on him? No, that doesn't fly with us. We've been through too many of these monkeys.
Mhm.
My last question for you is, do you think justice is going to be served in this case?
I want to see what the cops did. I want to see what the police did. We've sat in a room with them 3, 4, 5, 6, the period of years, at least once a year. We've sat in a room with them and watched how hard they've worked and watched how they put emphasis on the case. And Susie Lasoya, who is our client, is satisfied with them. We're relatively satisfied. I mean, in the beginning, it wasn't pretty. When I first met the first sheriff, he was just a jerk, just an absolute jerk. He didn't need to be. I talk about that. I think I talk about this on your show. When you private security experts, right? That we're all ex-law enforcement or street operators or government operators or whatever, because that's what interests in the business. We're not any Tom, Dick, or Harry that's a school teacher that says, oh, I want to be an investigator now. Okay. We're not those kind of people. When they saw our credentials, and I always present our credentials first, here's who we are. Read up on us. I'm going to go grab a Coke. I'll be back. Right? I want them to be comfortable to who they're talking with in our experience level. I mean, you talk about like Trace Sargent. She's a federal agent. And this sheriff just said, blah, blah, get away from here. Stay away from everything. Well, sheriff, you can go blow, because we're not going to go do that. And that's what I tell these uncooperative sheriffs. Go blow. We're going to do our investigation. It's happening. So if you need to arrest me, let's do it now, and I'm going to get out on bail, and then I'm going to continue my investigation, right? And you see it, they kind of go, oh yeah, that ain't good. If you do this between the private security guys and you do this with law enforcement, what do you get? Instead of getting 2, 3, 4 sets of eyes, 5, you now have 10 sets of eyes. 10 is better than 5 in a homicide, okay? Unless you get every crazy Tom, Dick, or Harry that want to play pretend investigator and come up with crazy ass theories and don't look at the evidence. That's a problem. But do I think it'll be solved? It's going to have to depend upon the police. It's going to have to depend upon how the police do their job or did their job out there. So far, all the evidence I've read, they did a pretty good job. I think I don't have a problem with what they did out there so far, unless when I read in the report they didn't do certain things.
Right.
Then I'll be a little skeptic. But I think they did a good job, because they know it's a national story, and they know when they make their announcement, every ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox,
Mhm.
Max, Funk and Wagnall, everybody will be out there giving an opinion.
Yeah, it'll be big.
It'll be big, yeah. And then immediately after that, we'll be prepared and ready to go, and we'll give our statement after that. They may invite us. I heard a rumor a week ago that they may invite us up to be in their press conference and thank us for all our work and all the evidence we've turned over. And now it's going to be either this or that. I mean, it's not going to be an accident, I assure you. It's going to be this or that. And
Right.
I can assure you that if they do that, that will be a huge step in the state of Texas for agencies to learn that technique and that tool.
We can't wait.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay.
We're looking
Cannot
forward
wait.
to it. We're going to think positively and that will happen, and hopefully it'll be soon.
Yeah.
And let me say this again. As the media changes, right? You're seeing the media, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, you see all the numbers crashing. You see Disney, who owns ABC, trying to abort ABC and get rid of them because they're a dying breed. TV is dying. You are the new generation, and I want to make sure that we all work together to keep the word out there on these cases. What you two ladies have done, out of all the media I've worked with in this case, and you guys know, I work with a lot of media. I mean, you name it, I've worked with them. I can tell you, you guys have kept it factual. You've kept it basic. And you have never been accusatory. You've always been, hey, let's wait to see what they say. And I want to thank you both for that.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We can't thank you enough for being on again. We were so thrilled when we found out you're available. So thank you. Thank you.
You're very
And
welcome.
yeah, let's stay in touch. I would love to have you back on after this
We'll do it.
person
We'll
gets
do it.
arrested. Yeah, let's
We
do
might
it.
even do a one-on-one interview with you on an extended period if you guys want.
Love it.
I get all the investigators on. We'll do a big Skype and we'll get all the investigators and we'll talk to you about the evidence and what we see.
That'd
That
be
would
great.
be wonderful. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Have a great day, Philip. We look forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you again soon. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Good to see
Have a
you.
great day.
You
Good to
too.
see
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.